Hello everyone, welcome to Premier Math. Today we are going to discuss some important math problems on compound interest based on previous year questions. We will be solving these questions using speed matrix. So let's start our session. Our first question is: Rajneesh borrowed 1500 from a bank and repaid the entire amount with interest in two equal annual installments. The first installment being paid a year after Rajneesh borrowed from the bank. If the rate of interest was 40% per annum compounded annually, then what was the value of each installment paid by Rajneesh? Here 40% is the rate. 40% means 40 by 100. 20 goes 2 times in 40, 5 times in 100. So 2-part interest generated out of 5-part principal. Take the principal and amount ratio. Principal is 5 part and amount is 5 plus 2, 7 part for 1 year. Now for the second year, principal is 5 square part and amount is 7 square part, which is equal to 25:49. Now here question clearly says entire amount paid back in 2 equal annual installment, which means here we should equalize the amount in first year and second year. In first year it is 7 part, in second year it is 49 part. So in order to equalize the amount, we should multiply first year amount with 7. Now in order to balance the ratio, multiply 5 with 7 as well. Now we have balanced the ratio as well. And here we have equalized the amount in first year and second year, that is 49 part each. Now if you take the sum of principal, 35 plus 25 is 60 part and 49 plus 49 is 98 part. That is, here in question, principal is given as 1500. In ratio, principal is 60 part. Total principal is 60 part. So 60 part is equal to 1500. 60 into 25 is equal to 1500, which means 49 part is the amount paid back in 1 year. So 49 part is equal to 49 into 25, which is equal to 5 into 9, 45, remaining 4. 9 into 2, 18, 18 plus 20, 38, 38 plus 4 is equal to 42, remaining 4. 4 into 2, 8, 8 plus 4, 12. So 1225. Option 3 is your answer. Find the amount. If a sum of rupees 6500 is being borrowed at 10% interest per annum for 2 years, if the interest is compounded half yearly. Compounded half yearly means every 6 months interest is added to the principal. Now 10% is the rate for 1 year. Then for half year rate is equal to 5%. And here total number of years are 2 years. There are 4 half years in 2 years. So total number of terms is equal to 4. Instead of compound interest, if I calculate simple interest for 4 years is equal to 5 into 4, 20%. But this is compound interest. So it can be around 21% because this is just 5%. So calculate it based on 21%. Now 10% of 6500 is equal to 650. So 20% is equal to 1300 and 1% is equal to 65. So total amount will be 6500 plus interest 1365, which is equal to 7865. 65 plus 13 is 78. So 121% is equal to, amount is equal to 121%, which is 7865. Option 2 is your answer. Now if you want to calculate in a proper way, calculate using successive increment formula. Compound interest for 2 years is equal to 5 plus 5, 10. 10 plus 5 into 5 divided by 100, which is equal to 10.25. Then compound interest for 4 years is equal to 10.25 plus 10.25 is equal to 20.5. 20.5 plus 10.25 into 10.25 divided by 100. Consider it as 10 into 10. Ignore 0.25. So this will be around 21.5%. So we calculate it based on 21%. Now you can say this is actually 21.5%. That is, here interest for 4 terms is equal to 21.5%. Amount is equal to 6500 plus principal plus 21.5% of 6500, which is 7900 here. Calculate the amount if rupees 400 is invested on compound interest at the rate of 5% per annum for 2 years. Here rate is 5% for 1 year. So 5% means 5 by 100. 5 goes 20 times in 100. So 1 by 20 means 1 part is the interest generated in 1 year out of this 20 part principal. So take the principal and amount ratio. Principal is 20 part and amount is principal plus interest, that is 20 plus 1, 21 part. Now this is for 1 year. For 2 year, take the square of it. Now 20 square is equal to 400, which is given in the question as principal. So 20 square is 400 means 20 square into 1 is equal to 400. Then amount is equal to 21 square, which is 441. 21 square into 1 is 441. Here one part is 1. So amount is equal to 441. Option B is your answer. You can also calculate in different way. That is compound interest for 2 years. Use the formula A plus B plus AB by 100. That is for 1 year it is 5%. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 into 5 is 25. So 25 by 100, which is equal to 10.25%. So compound interest for 2 years is equal to 10.25%, which means amount is 110.25%. So 110.25% of 400 means principal is 400. 110.25% is the amount generated in 2 years at the rate of 5% per annum. Here percentage and 00 cancel. 110.25 into 4 means 4 into 110 is 440. 4 into 0.25 is 1. So amount is equal to 441 rupees. The difference between simple and compound interest compounded annually on a sum of money for 3 years at 10% per annum is rupees 93. The sum in rupees is, here 10% is the rate of interest for both simple and compound interest. 10% means 10 by 100. That is equal to 1 by 10. So 1 unit is the interest out of 10 unit principal. Now take the ratio between principal and amount. Here principal is equal to 10 parts for 1 year and amount is equal to principal plus interest, that is 10 plus 1, 11 parts for 1 year. Now number of years is equal to 3 years. So take the cube of 10 parts and 11 parts. Now 10 cube is equal to 1000 and 11 cube is equal to 11 square into 11, that is 121 into 11. 121 into 11 is equal to, write 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. Write 1. So 1331 is the 11 cube. Now take the difference between principal and amount. Here principal is 1000 parts and amount is 1331 parts. So difference is equal to 331 parts. This is in ratio. So we need to write parts here. So here compound interest for 3 years is equal to 331 parts. Now simple interest for 3 years. Here rate of interest is 10%. So 10% for 3 years is equal to 30%. So 30% of the principal is simple interest for 3 years. Here principal is equal to 1000 parts. 1000 parts. We need to write parts because this is in ratio. So here percentage and 00 get cancelled. 30 into 10 parts is equal to 300 parts. That is simple interest for 3 years is equal to 300 parts and compound interest for 3 years is equal to 331 parts. Now take the difference between 331 parts and 300 parts, which is equal to 31 parts. So 31 parts in the question is given as 93 rupees. That is difference between simple interest and compound interest is 93 rupees. So here 31 parts is the difference in ratio, but actual difference is 93 rupees. So write it. That is 31 part is 93. That means 1 part is equal to 31 goes 3 times in 93. 1 part is equal to 3. Here sum is equal to 1000 parts, which is equal to 1 part is equal to 3. So 3000 is the original sum. So option C is your answer. A sum amounts to rupees 2916 in 2 years and rupees 3149.28 in 3 years at the same rate of compound interest. The sum is, here amount received at the end of 3 years minus amount received at the end of 2 years is equal to interest received for the third year. Now if you take the difference between this one and this one, this is equal to interest. Take the difference 0.28 9 minus 6, 3. 4 minus 1, 3. 1 minus 9, that is 11 minus 9, 2. So 233.28 is the interest received from the amount 2916, because amount at the end of 2 years will become the principal for the third year. So this 233.28 is received from this principal 2916. So if I convert it into percentage, this will become rate of interest here. Now multiply numerator with 100. Now you can see here unit digit 6, here unit digit 8. So if I multiply with 6 with 8, I will get unit digit 8. So here 6, 8, 48. So here rate of interest is equal to 8%. 8% means 8 by 100. 4 goes 2 times in 8, 4 goes 25 times in 100. That means here 2 part is the interest, and this 2 part interest is received from the principal 25 parts. Now take the ratio between principal and amount. Principal is 25 parts and amount is principal plus interest, that is 25 plus 2, 27 parts. Now number of years here is equal to 2 years. So take the square of 25 and 27. 27 square is 729 and 25 square is 625. Now this 729 parts is equal to amount at the end of 2 years, because we are doing it for 2 years. Number of years is 2 here. So 2916 is the 729 parts. That means 1 part is equal to 729 into 4. Here unit digit 9, here unit digit 6. 9 into 4 is 36. Remaining 3. 4 into 8 plus 3, 11. 7 into 4 plus 1, 29. So 729 goes 4 times in 2916. So 1 part is equal to 4 means 625 parts is the principal. So multiply 625 with 4. Here if I multiply 729 with 4, I will get 2916. So same way if I multiply 625 with 4, I will get 600 into 4, 2400. 25 into 4, 100. So 2400 plus 100 is 2500. So principal is 2500. Option A is your answer. A sum of money become 11,880 after 4 years and 17,820 after 6 years on compound interest if the interest is compounded annually. What is the half of the sum? Here, difference between 6 years and 4 years is 2 years. If the difference between years is 2 years, if you take the square root of ratio of 6 years sum and 4 years sum, then you will get amount and principal ratio for 1 year. That is, here in the numerator, write larger sum, that is 6 years sum, which is 17,820. And in denominator, you have 4 years sum, that is 11,880. Now cancel. 11 goes 1 time in 11, 8 times in 88. 11 goes 1 time in 17, 6 times in 68, 2 times in 22. 9 goes 1 time in 10, 2 times in 18. 9 goes 1 time in 16, 8 times in 72. 6 goes 2 times in 12, 3 times in 80. So amount and principal ratio is root 3 is to root 2. Now this is for 1 year. So take the principal and amount ratio. Principal is root 2 part and amount is root 3 part for 1 year. Then 4 year, it is root 2 raised to 4 and root 3 raised to 4, which is equal to root 3 raised to 4 means 3 square, which is 9, and root 2 raised to 4 means 2 square, which is 4. Now you can see here a principal becomes 11,880 after 4 years means here this is the amount after 4 years. So here 9 part is equal to 11,880. Then 9 goes 1 time in 11, 3 times in 28, 2 times in 80. Then 0. That is 1 part is equal to 1320. If 1 part is 1320, then 4 part is equal to 4 into 1320, which is equal to 2 into 4, 8. 4 into 3, 12. 4 into 1 plus 1, 5. So 5280 is the principal. Now principal is 5280. Then half of the principal is equal to half of this, which is 2 goes 2 times in 5, 2 goes 6 times in 12, 2 goes 4 times in 8, then 2640 is half of the sum, which is option 4. What is the compound interest on rupees 3,90,625 at 16% per annum for 1 year compounded quarterly? Compounded quarterly means every 3 months interest is added to the principal, and we need compound interest for 1 year. In 1 year there are 4 quarters, that is 4 3 months. So number of term is 4, and here for 1 year rate is equal to 16%. Then for 1 quarter rate is 4%. Now, if you calculate simple interest for 4 quarters, it will be equal to 4 into 4, 16%. But here it is compound interest. So, if I add nearly 1% to it, this will become 17%, and this is around compound interest for 4 quarters. Now, if you calculate 17% of sum 3,90,625, that will be your around value. Here, 10% of 3,90,625 is 39062, and 1% is 3906. Then 7% is 7 into 6 42, and 7 into 9 63, 7 into 3 21 plus 6 27. If you add 2 2 4, 6 plus 4 10, this is 4, and this is 16, and this is 6. Now if you check for 66, you can see here you have 66. So option 4 is your answer. Now this is the exact value, 66,351. Here we got 404 because we calculate it as 17%. This is around 16.9 something. Your actual value is around 16.9. Now if you are not satisfied with this technique, I will tell you other. That is, use A plus B plus AB by 100 formula. Here, compound interest for 2 quarters is equal to, for 1 quarter it is 4%. For 2 quarter it is 4 plus 4, 8% plus 4 into 4, 16 by 100. That is 8.16%. Now, compound interest for 3 quarters is equal to, for 2 quarters it is 8.16 plus third quarter it is 4% plus 8.16 into 4 divided by 100. Now, leave this 0.16. and calculate for the exact number, that is 8 into 4, 32. So 32 by 100 is 0.32. Now add this 0.32 here. Now you will get 8 plus 4 is 12. Now 12.32 plus 16 is equal to 48. That is 12.48% for 3 quarters. Now for 4 quarters it is 12.48 plus 4 plus 12.48 into 4 divided by 100. Now leave this 0.48, and 12 into 4 is 48. So 48 by 100 is 0.48. Now add this 0.48 here, which is equal to, here 12 plus 4, 16, 16.48 plus 48 is 96. Now you can see it's 16.96%. This is around 17%. So if you calculate for 17%, you will get this one. If you calculate for 16.96%, you will get this one. A sum of rupees 18,000 become 21,780 after 2 years on compound interest compounded annually. What will be the compound interest on the same sum for same period if the rate of interest increases by 5%? Here you can do it in 2 methods. If you look at the options are varying. So first I will calculate it roughly. That is, take the difference. Difference is 18 plus 3 is 21. So 3,780 is the compound interest generated at the end of 2 years at our percentage rate. So this is for 2 years. Now interest increases by 5%. So we need to find out what is compound interest generated at the rate of R plus 5% for 2 years. Instead of this, I'll calculate simple interest for 2 years at the rate of 5%. Now, for 1 year it is 5%, for 2 years it is 10%. So 10% of 18,000 is 1800. So if I add simple interest generated at 5% for 2 years with this compound interest, it will be equal to 5,580. Now this is less amount. Your answer should be greater than 5,580. And if you look for the option, you can see option 4 eliminated. Option 3 is your answer. So in this way you can find the answer, but if you want a proper explanation, I will calculate it. That is, here this is 18,000 means this 18,000 is for 2 years. So this is P square and this is A square. Now if I take amount by principal ratio, this is root of 21,780 divided by 18,000. Now 0 cancel. If I divide it with 18, 18 goes 100 times in 1800, 18 goes 1 time in 21, remaining 3, 18 goes 2 times in 37, remaining 1, 18 goes 1 time in 18. So this is root of 121 by 100 means 11 by 10. Now you can say difference is 1. This 1 part interest generated is from this 10 part principal. So rate is equal to 1 part interest generated out of 10 part principal into 100, that is 10% is the rate. Old rate is 10% means new rate is equal to 10 plus 5, 15%. Now calculate compound interest for 18,000 at 15% per annum. So for the first year at 15% per annum means 10% is 1800, 5% is 1800 by 2, that is 900. So 1800 plus 900 is 2700. So in the second year also 2700 generated, and second year also 15% of 2700, that is interest on interest is added. 10% is 270, 5% is half of 270, that is 135. So 15% is 405, that is at the end of 2 years total interest generated is equal to this one, that is 2700 plus 2700 plus 405. So 27 plus 27 is 54. So this is equal to 5805. Option 3 is your answer. A sum invested at compound interest amounts to rupees 7,800 in 3 years and rupees 11,230 to 5 years. What is the rate percentage? Here difference between 5 years and 3 years is 2 years. In that case, take the ratio of 5 year sum and 3 year sum. That is ratio of 11,232 divided by 7,800. Now 6 goes 13 times in 78 and 6 goes 1 time in 11, remaining 5. 6 goes 8 times in 48, remaining 4. 6 goes 7 times in 42, remaining 1. 6 goes 2 times in 12. Now 13 goes 1 time in 18, remaining 5. 13 goes 4 times in 52, remaining 5. 13 goes 4 times in 52. So 144 by 100 means this is 2 years difference. That is interest for 2 years. Now to get interest for 1 year, take the square root of it. That is, this is equal to root 144 by 100 is equal to 12 by 10. That is, here difference generated is 2 part. That is 10 part is the initial sum. Then after 1 year it is increased to 12 part. 2 part is the interest generated out of this 10 part. So rate is equal to 2 part by 10 into 100. So 20% is the rate. Option 2 is your answer. A certain sum is deposited for 4 years at a rate of 10% per annum on compound interest compounded annually. The difference between the interest at the end of 2 years and at the end of 4 years is rupees 5,082. Find the sum. Here you can solve it in 2 methods. If you go for rough calculation, that is in exam perspective, just calculate the simple interest difference for 4 year and 2 year. Here interest is 10% per annum. That is for 1 year it is 10%. So 4 year it is 40%. For 2 year it is 20%. So 40 minus 20 is equal to 20%. This is simple interest difference. In question 5082 is the compound interest difference. Now this 20% should be less than 5082, which means your answer should be less than what you will get in the final. That is, you have to find out the sum. Sum is equal to 100%. So 100% should be less than 5082 into 5. I will calculate it as 5000 into 5, that is 25,000. So this your sum should be less than 25,000. Here less than 25,000 means option 1 is your answer. Only 1 is less than 25,000. Now if you want the real calculation, which will be equal to compound interest difference. That is, compound interest for 2 years is equal to, for 1 year it is 10. So for 2 year go for the successive formula. That is 10 plus 10 plus 10 into 10, 100 by 100, which is equal to 21%. For 2-year, compound interest is 21%. So, compound interest for 4-year will be, consider for 1 year it is 21, again next to 1 year it is 21. So, 21 plus 21 plus 21 into 21 is 441 divided by 100, which is equal to 46.41%. Now, the difference here is equal to 25.41. Now, this 25.41% is the 2-year interest difference, 2-year compound interest difference, which is given in the question 5082. 25.41 into 2 is equal to 50.82. So, 25.41 into 200 is 5082, which means 100% is equal to 20,000. So, option 1 is your answer. The difference between compound interest compounded annually and simple interest on a certain sum at a rate of 15% per annum for 2 years is Rs 1944. Find the compound interest compounded annually on same sum for same period at rate of 10% per annum. Here, use the successive increment formula, that is, here compound interest for 2 years at the rate of 15% per annum means A plus B by AB by 100. Use it. That is 15 plus 15 plus 15 into 15 divided by 100 is the compound interest for 2 years at 15% per annum. Now you can see simple interest means 15 plus 15. 30% is the simple interest for 2 years. Now the remaining is the difference between compound interest and simple interest. That is, here difference is 225 by 100 means 2.25%. So here difference is given as 1944. If 2.25% is 1944, then we need compound interest for 10% per annum for 2 years at the rate of 10% means 10 plus 10 plus 10 into 10 by 100, that is 21%. Is the compound interest for 2 years at 10% per annum, which is equal to, if 2.25% is 1944, then 21% is 1944 divided by 2.25 into 21. Now this is equal to, here if I divide it with 9, this will become, if I add this 0.25, to remove this 0.25, I'll add 2 zeros here. So this will become 9 goes 2 times in 22, remaining 4, 9 goes 5 times in 45. Now here 9 goes 2 times in 19, remaining 1, 9 goes 1 time in 14, remaining 5, 9 goes 6 times in 54. Now 25 goes 4 times in 100. Which means you can see 21 into 4 is 84. 21 into 4 is 84. Now 216 into 84. 6 into 4 is 24. Unit digit is 4. Unit digit is 4 means here unit digit is 4 in option 3. So option 3 is your answer. Don't go for the calculation. Just find the value by approximation or by digital sum or by unit digit. If interest be compounded half yearly, then find the compound interest on Rs 8,000 at the rate of 20% per annum for 1 year. Here compounded half yearly means there are total 2 half years in 1 year, and for 1 year percentages rate is equal to 20% means for half year rate is 10%. Then compound interest for 2 terms at the rate of 10% is equal to 10 plus 10 plus 10 into 10 by 100, that is 21%. So 21% of 8,000 is equal to 21 into 80, that is 10% is 800, then 20% is 1600, and 1% is 80, so 1680. 21% is 6080. Option 4 is your answer. What is the compound interest on a sum of Rs 25,000 after 3 years at the rate of 12% per annum, interest compounded yearly? Here interest is compounded annually, and here for 1 year rate is equal to 12%. Then calculate total interest for 3 years. Here compound interest for 2 years is equal to 12 plus 12, 24. 24 plus 12 into 12, 144 by 100. Use successive increment formula, which is equal to 25.44. Now compound interest for 3 years is equal to 25.44 plus 12. Third year it is 12. So which is equal to 37.44 plus 25.44 into 12 divided by 100. Now divide 25 with 100, which is equal to 0.25, means 1 by 4. 1 by 4 into 12 is equal to 3. Now this is equal to 40.44 percentage. Now 10 percentage of 25,000 is equal to 2500. Then 40 percentage is equal to 10,000. And here option 1 is your answer. That is 40 percentage of 25,000. Sum 25,000 is equal to 10,000. Percentage and 00 cancel. 250 into 40 is 10,000. So option 1 is your answer. And if you check for 0.44 percentage, here 1 percentage is equal to 250. 0.1 percentage is equal to 25. So 0.4 percentage is equal to 25 into 4. That is 100. You can see 10,000 plus 100 something. So option 1 is your answer. The compound interest on rupees 10,000 at 20% per annum is rupees 4,641. If the compounding is done half yearly, then for how many years was the sum invested? Simply 46.41% is the total interest generated upon this total principal. 46.41% means here T should be 2 years, because in 1 year interest generated is 20%. And interest is compounded half yearly, means every 6 months interest is added to the principal. That is, every 6 months here 10% of principal is added to the interest. If you calculate simple interest, 10 into 4, 40% is the simple interest for 4 half years. Then 46.41 should be the compound interest for 4 half years. This is 4 half years. 4 half years means 2 years. Option 4 is your answer. If you want to take ratio, that is principal and amount ratio, here 20% for 1 year, then 10% for half year. 10% means 1 by 10, that is 10 part is the principal for half year, then 10 plus 1, 11 part is the amount for half year. This 1 part is generated in every 6 months. Now this is for 1 half year. But here principal is given as 10 raised to 4, which means amount should be 11 raised to 4. And if you take difference between 11 raised to 4 and 10 raised to 4, which is equal to 4641, which is correct. Which means here number of years is 4 half years, which is equal to 2 years. The time in which rupees 2000 will amount to rupees 2420 at 10% per annum compound interest, when the interest is compounded annually. Now take the ratio between principal and amount. Here principal is 2000 and amount is 2420. Now take the ratio. 0, 0 cancel. If I divide it with 2, this is 100 and this is 121. Now this 100 and 121, write it in terms of power. That is 10 square is to 11 square. Now this power is the number of year here. Number of years. So number of years is equal to 2. This power is the number of years. So option B is your answer. Number of years is 2. That is 2000 will become 2420 in 2 years at 10% per annum compound interest. At what percentage per annum of compound interest compounded annually will a sum of money become 16 times of itself in 4 years? Now take the ratio between principal and amount. Here it is for 4 years. So take the ratio between principal and amount for 4 years. Now sum of money becomes 16 times of itself. That means if I take 1 unit as principal, then after 4 years, 16 unit will be the amount here. So 1 is to 16. Here number of years is equal to 4. So write the 1 is to 16 in power of 4. 16 if I write it in terms of power of 4, 2 raised to 4. And 1 will become 1 raised to 4. Here you can see 1 unit is the principal and 2 unit is the amount. So principal and amount for 1 year, ratio is equal to 1:2. Because this 4 is the number of years here. So 1:2 is the principal and amount. That is, principal 1 become 2 at the end of 1 year. So if I take the difference between amount and principal, that is equal to 2 minus 1 unit. So 1 unit is the interest here. Interest received at the end of 1 year. So rate will become interest received is 1 out of this 1 unit principal. So if I convert it into percentage, multiply with 100. This will become 100%. So option D is your answer. That is 1 unit interest received from 1 unit principal. That means 100% is the rate here. The compound interest on rupees 1800 at 10% per annum for certain period of time as rupees 378. Find the time in here. Here take the ratio between principal and amount. Principal is equal to 1800 and we don't know the amount here, but we know compound interest is 378 for certain time period. So add 378 to principal. Now 1800 plus 200, 2000. So 2178 is the amount for certain time period. Now take the ratio between these two. 18 goes 100 times in 1800. 18 goes 1 time in 21, remaining 3. 18 goes 2 times in 37, remaining 1. 18 goes 1 times in 80. Now 100 is to 121 is equal to 10 square is to 11 square. Now power is 2. That means number of years is equal to 2 here. So option D is your answer. Find the amount which Ram will get on rupees 4096 if he gave it for 18 months at 12.5% per annum. Interest being compounded half yearly. Half yearly means in 18 months there are total 3 half months. That is 3 6 months. So number of terms is equal to 3. For 1 year rate is equal to 12.5% means for half year rate is equal to 12.5% divided by 2. That is 12.5 by 200. 12.5 goes 8 times in 100. So 16 times in 200. So 1 by 16 means this 1 part interest generated out of the 16 part principal. Then amount will become 16 plus 1 17 and principal is 16 part. So take principal and amount ratio. Principal is 16 part, amount is 17 part. Now number of terms is equal to 3. So take cube of it. 16 cube and 17 cube are principal and amount generated at the end of 3. Now 16 cube is given as 4096. Here 16 I can write it as 4 into 4. So 4 into 4 the whole cube means 4 cube is 64. So this is equal to 64 square. 64 square means 4 square is 6. 6 into 4 24. 24 into 2 is 48. 48 plus 1 is 49, remaining 4, 6 square plus 4 is 40. So 64 square is equal to 4096 means here 1 part is equal to 1. 16 cube into 1 is 4096. Same way 17 cube is your answer. So 17 cube means 289 into 17. 17 square is equal to 289. So 289 into 17 means 289 into 10 is 2890. 7 into 9, 63, remaining 6, 7 into 8, 56 plus 6 is equal to 62, remaining 6, 7 into 2, 14 plus 6 is 20. So this will become 4913. Option 3 is your answer. A sum of rupees 4620 is to be paid back in 2 equal installments. How much is each installment if the interest is compounded annually at 10% per annum? A compounded annually means interest on interest at the end of the year. 10% means 10 by 100 means 1 by 10. That is, this 1 part interest is generated from this 10 part principal at the end of the year. Here, take the ratio of principal and amount. Principal is 10 part and amount is 10 plus 1, 11 part. Now you can see this is for 1 year. This is for 1 year. Now for second year, we have to pay back in 2 equal installments, which means for second year, this is equal to principal is 10 square and amount is equal to 11 square. And question clearly says this amount should pay back in 2 equal installments. Amount should pay back in 2 equal installments, which means we have to equalize this amount part. If for the first year it is 11, for the second year it is 11 square. So if for the second year it is 11 square, we should equalize the first year as well, that is 11 into 11. In order to equalize this, multiply it with 11. That is, now amount is equal in first year and second year. That is 11 square and 11 square. So here, when I multiply 11 with 11, I should multiply 11 here also. That is, here I multiplied 11 with 11 in order to equalize the 2 equal installment. Now, if I multiply 11 here, I should multiply 11 in principal as well. Now, you can see this is equal to, we have 4620 as sum. Now, here sum means principal. Here, 11 into 10 is 110. 110 plus 100 is equal to 210. Which means 210 is equal to 4620. Now, we have to find out what is equal installment. Equal installment means 121 part. So, here, if 210 part is equal to 4620, then we have to find out what is 121 part. 121 part is equal to 4620 divided by 210 into 121. Here 21 goes 2 times in 46, remaining 4. So 21 goes 2 times in 42. Now 0 cancel, 22 into 121. 22 into 121 means 121 into 2 into 11. 121 into 2 into 11 means 242 into 11. 242 into 11. 242 into 11 is equal to, when a number multiply with 11, write the unit digit 2, then 4 plus 2 is 6, 2 plus 4 is 6, write 2. So 2662. Your answer is 2662, option 3.
What is the compound interest on a sum of rupees 8,000 for 2 and 1 by 8 years at the rate of 68% per annum, interest compounded yearly? Here, for the first year it is 16% and for second year it is also 16%. But third year is not full year, that is third year is 1 by 8 years. So 1 by 8 into 16 is 2% is the interest rate for third year. Third year is not full year. Now find the compound interest for 2 years. Use the successive increment formula, that is A plus B by AB by 100. 16 plus 16, 32. 32 plus 16 into 16 divided by 100, which is equal to 256 by 100. So 34.56%. Now compound interest for 2 and 1 by 8 years is equal to 34.56 plus for third year it is 2% plus 34.56 into 2 divided by 100, which is equal to 36.56 plus here 2 into 56 112, 2 into 34 68, so 69.12. So here this will become 36.56 plus 0.69, which is 37.25%. So find the compound interest for 2 and 1 by 8 years, which is 37.25% of the total sum 8,000. Now 10% of 8,000 is 800. So 30% is 800 into 3, 2400, plus here 7% of 8,000 is 1% is 80. So 7% is 7 into 80, 560. Now find 0.25% of 8,000. Here 1% is 80, then 0.25% is 1 by 4 of 80, that is 20. Now this is equal to 580 plus 2400, that is 2980. Option 4 is your answer. Find the compound interest if rupees 3,000 was invested for 3 years at 20% per annum. Here interest compounded half yearly. Half yearly means every 6 months interest is added to the principal. Now 3 years means total 6 half years. And 20% per annum means for 1 year it is 20%, for half year it is 10%. So rate is equal to 10% means if 10 part is the principal, then 1 part is the interest generated out of it. Now take principal and amount ratio. Principal is 10 part and amount is 10 plus 1, 11 part. Now total number of terms is 6. So take 10 raised to 6 and 11 raised to 6 ratio. Here 10 raised to 6 is equal to 10 lakh and 11 raised to 6 means 11 cube is equal to 1331. Then 11 raised to 4 is equal to 1, 3 plus 1, 4, 3 plus 3, 6, 3 plus 1, 4, 1. Now 11 raised to 5 is 1, 4 plus 1, 5, 6 plus 4, 10. This is 11, here 6, here 1. Again 11 raised to 6 means 1, 6, 5, 1, 7, 7, 1. That is 11 raised to 6 is 1771, 561. Now the difference is the interest generated. Difference between principal and amount is equal to interest generated. Here interest generated is equal to 771561 parts. Here 10 raised to 6 parts is given this question as 3000 rupees. That is principal is 3000 rupees. So equate 10 raised to 6 parts with 3000. 000 and 000 cancel. That is 1 part is equal to 3 by 1000. So multiply 1 part with 771561. That is 3 by 1000. Now this is equal to 3 into 1 3, 3 into 6 18, 3 into 5 15 plus 1 16, 3 into 1 plus 1 4, 3 into 7 21, remaining 2, 3 into 7 21 plus 2 23. Now you can see divided by 1000. So 2314.683 means 2315. Option 4 is your answer.
A sum of money was borrowed and paid back in 2 equal annual installment of rupees 980, allowing 4% compound interest. The sum borrowed was, here 4% is the compound interest. 4% means 1 by 25. 1 by 25 means 25 part is the principal and 1 part is the interest generated from this 25 part at the end of 1 year. Here take the principal and amount ratio. In first year, principal is equal to 25 parts and amount is equal to 25 plus 1, 26 part. Now in second year, there are 2 years because amount paid back in 2 equal annual installment means total 2 years. So in second year, principal is 25 square and amount is 26 square. Now question clearly says amount paid back in 2 equal annual installments, which means this 26 part and 26 square part are equal. But here it is not equal, so we should equalize it. That is, in first year it is 26 part, in second year it is 26 square part. But question says this amount in first year and second year are equal. So in the first year ratio, I will multiply 26 with 26. Now when you multiply RHS of a ratio, we should multiply LHS of the same ratio in order to equalize it. So multiply 26 in principal as well. Now question says annually equal installment is rupees 980, which means this 26 square part in the first year is 980 and in the second year this 26 square part is 980. Now we need to find out what is one part. Here 26 square part is 980 means 676 part is equal to 980. Now if I divide it with 4, 4 goes 1 time in 6 remaining 2, 4 goes 6 times in 24 remaining 3, 4 goes 9 times in 36. Same way here 4 goes 2 times in 9 remaining 1, 4 goes 4 times in 16 remaining 2, 4 goes 5 times in 20. So 169 part is equal to 245. Then we need to find out what is the sum. Here sum is equal to 26 into 25 plus 25 square. Sum is equal to 26 into 25 plus 25 square. Now if I take 25 outside, then remaining is 26 plus 25, which is equal to 51. Now 5 into 1 is 5 and 5 square plus 2 is 27, remaining 2. 5 into 2 plus 2 is 12. So 1275 is the sum. 1275 is the sum. 1275 parts is the sum. So we need to find out what is 1275 part here. Here 169 part is equal to 245. Then 1275 part is equal to 245 divided by 169 into 1275. Here
13 goes 13 times in 169, and 13 goes around 13 into 10 is 130. So 13 into 9 is 117. Remaining 10. So 13 into around 8 is equal to 105. So here again if I cancel with 13, 13 into 7 is 91, remaining 7. So 13 goes around 7.5 times in 98. Now 7.5 into 245 is equal to 1715 plus 122.5. Now this is around 1800. So nearly 1800, which is equal to option 1. So option 1 is your answer.
There is 75% increase in amount in 5 years at simple interest. What will be the compound interest of rupees 40,000 after 2 years at the same rate? Here, for 5 years, increase is equal to 75%. Then for 1 year, increase is equal to 75 by 5, that is 15%. So rate is equal to 15%. That means 15 by 100. 5 goes 3 times in 50, 5 goes 20 times in 100. So 20 unit is the principal and 3 unit is the interest. Then take the ratio between principal and amount to calculate the compound interest for 40,000. Here compound interest is calculated at the same rate. That's why principal is equal to 20 parts for 1 year and amount is equal to principal plus interest, that is 20 plus 3, 23 unit for 1 year. Now we need to calculate compound interest for 2 years. So take the square of 20 unit and 23 unit. Now here 20 square is equal to 400 and 23 square is equal to 3 square is equal to 9. 2 into 3 into 2 is 12. Remaining 1, 2 square plus 1, 5. So here 400 is to 529 is the principal and amount for 2 years. So I will write it as 400 parts and 529 parts. If you take the difference between principal and amount, which is equal to 129 parts. 529 minus 400, 129 parts. Here 400 parts is equal to, that is here principal is equal to 40,000. So equate 400 parts with 40,000. Now you can see 400 parts is equal to 40,000 means 400 into 100 is 40,000. So this is 1 part is equal to 100. If 1 part is equal to 100, 129 part is the compound interest. Compound interest is 129 parts, which is equal to 129 into 1 part is equal to 100. So 12,900 is the compound interest for 2 years. So option C is your answer. A sum amounts to rupees 19,360 in 2 years at 10% per annum rate of compound interest. Then sum is, here it is compound interest, and rate of interest is 10% per annum. 10% means 10 by 100, that is 1 by 10. That means here 1 unit is the interest out of this 10 unit principal. Now if I take the ratio between principal and amount, here principal is 10 unit and amount is principal plus interest, that is 10 plus 1, 11 unit. Now this sum amounts in 2 years. So this is for 2 years. That means take the square of 10 unit and 11 unit. So this 10 square is 100 and 11 square is 121. That means 100 is to 121 is for 2 years. Now here it is given that amount is 19,360 in 2 years. That means this 121 unit is equal to 19,360. Here you can see 121 goes 1 time in 193. 21 plus 70 is 91. So remaining is 72. So 121 goes 6 times in 726. Remaining is 0. That is here 121 goes 160 time in 19,360. That means 1 unit is 160. If 1 unit is 160, that means here principal is 100 unit. Principal means sum. Sum is 100 units. So 100 into 160 is 16,000. So option D is your answer because principal here is 100 unit. A man took a loan from a bank at the rate of 8% per annum compound interest. After 2 years, he had to pay total amount of rupees 72,900. The principal amount borrowed by him was
Here, interest rate is 8% per annum. What is that meaning? 8% means 8 by 100. Now, meaning of interest rate is, if 100 rupees is the principal, 8 rupees will be given as interest every year. This is the meaning of interest rate. Now, I will convert this 8 by 100 as 4 goes 2 times in 8, 4 goes 25 times in 100. Now, 2 part is the interest and 25 part is the principal here. Now, if you take the ratio between principal and amount, principal is 25 parts, then amount is principal plus interest, that is 25 plus 2, 27. Now, the time duration here is 2 years. Now, these parts are for 1 year. If you have 2 years, square it. Square principal and amount, that is 25 square and 27 square. If it is 3 years, then 25 cube is to 27 cube. If it is for 4 years, then 25 raised to 4, 27 raised to 4. If it is for 5 years, then 25 raised to 5, 27 raised to 5. So take that way. Now, here it is for 2 years. So 25 square is to 27 square. Now, this 27 square part is the total amount received in 2 years, which is equal to 72,900. So 27 square part is equal to 72,900. Here you can see 27 square is 729. So 729 goes 1 time in 729. That means 1 part is equal to 100. Then here 25 square means 625. Then 25 square parts is equal to 625 into 100. That means here principal is option C, that is 62,500. Choose the most appropriate answer. Ramu charges interest on his lending at 20% compound interest per annum. Compounding done half yearly. Principal is how much percentage less than the amount obtained at the end of 2 years. Here compounding done half yearly means every 6 months interest is added to the principal. Now 20% is the interest rate for 1 year means for 6 months interest rate is half of 20%, that is 10%. 10% means 10 by 100, that is 1 by 10. So 10 part is the principal for 6 months and 1 part is the interest for 6 months. Now take the ratio of principal and amount. Principal is 10 part and amount is interest plus principal, that is 10 plus 1, 11 part for 6 months. Now duration is 2 years. That means there are 4 6 months in 2 years. So 10 raised to 4 parts and 11 raised to 4 parts are the principal and amount for 2 years. Now 10 raised to 4 means 10,000. 11 raised to 4 means 11 cube is 1331. So 1331 into 11 is 11 raised to 4. When you multiply a number with 11, write the unit digit of the number as it is. Now 3 plus 1 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, 3 plus 1 is 4. Now write the left hand side digit as it is. That is 14641 is 11 raised to 4. Now, principal is how much percentage less than the amount. We need to find that. Here, take the difference between principal and amount, which is equal to 4641. So, 4641 out of into 100.
Rupees 3,903 is to be divided between A and B so that A's share at the end of 7 years may be equal to B's share at the end of 9 years at 4% per annum compound interest. The present share of B. Here 4% is the rate of interest. 4% means 4 by 100. So 4 goes 25 times in 100. 1 unit will become interest and 25 unit become principal. So amount will become 25 plus 1, 26. Then take the ratio between principal and amount for 2 persons A and B. Principal is 25 parts for 1 year for both A and B. Same way, amount is 26 parts for 1 year for A and B. But here, number of years for A is 7 years. So, 25 raised to 7 parts of A is the principal of A and 26 raised to 7 parts of A is the amount for A. And number of years of B is equal to 9 years. So 25 raised to 9 parts of B as principal and 26 raised to 9 parts of B as amount for B. Now, you can see this amount at the end of 7 years equal to amount at the end of 9 years. That is 26 raised to 7 parts of A equal to 26 raised to 9 parts of B. But here this is not equal. So we need to write here there are two people. So we need to write parts of A as A and parts of B as B. Now you can see 26 raised to 7 parts of A is equal to 26 raised to 9 parts of B. That is, we equalize the amount because this is in ratio format, so we need to write the parts as well. So here A by B is equal to, this one goes 2 times cancel. So 26 square. Now if you take the ratio principal of A by principal of B, which is equal to principal is 25 raised to 7 parts of A and 25 raised to 9 parts of B for B. Now you can see A by B is equal to 26 square. So multiply it with 26 square. Now this one goes 2 times here. So this will become 26 square divided by 25 square, which is equal to 676 by 625. Now this is equal to 3903. So one part is equal to 3. That means 625 part is equal to 625 into 3, which is equal to 1875. So option C is your answer. Difference between compound and simple interest on rupees 5,000 for 2 years at the same rate as rupees 72. The rate of interest per annum is